There have been a million Destiny killers and none of them have killed it.
Yeah, that's also definitely worth noting. I saw a lot of people talk about that. All of the Destiny killers, where they at now? But I mean, it's like I've always said in response to that argument is nothing. Like the only thing that can kill Destiny is Destiny, and that goes for anything, whether it's an artist, a creator, a thing. It's more often than not the thing itself is the only thing that can take it down. It's not going to be competition or outside sources. Like no game is just going to come like unless you can do a service better than the original thing, i.e. unless a game can offer better shooting mechanics and better design and skyboxes and just the graphics and just everything that Destiny is, but essentially the feel of the game, which is very hard to replicate. The satisfying feel of Destiny, the loot, just the engrams, all the little things that Bungie do to make their game good. Unless you can do that better than Bungie, you're not like that's just how competition works. It's not like unless you do something better than them, you're not going to beat them. The only way Destiny's going to fail is if Destiny fails themselves and if they start making a bad game. Right? But no other game is just going to come along and just Division's here and Anthem's here and we're just going to just move over. Like you can have in parallel different games, but they're all different in a sense, so they're not really competition.
Right. And more importantly, the whole idea is not to kill the game. Like the minute that someone branded itself as a Destiny killer is parallel to the similar moment when things branded themselves as the WoW killer. Because it's not about killing your competition. Like, it's just not, you know? Like, that's a complete mistake to sort of understand what it is. It's about standing out in that space. Final Fantasy XIV remade itself, and for all of the like terrible quirks that game had at launch, now it's actually really competent according to everyone I know who's played it. And it's one of these moments where they have never once said that they are the quote-unquote Destiny killer. But it's one of these moments where they are clearly competition to Destiny. They are in that kind of looter, like persistent, massively multiplayer genre. But it's also one of these moments where their lack of comparison has given them room to breathe. You know, they've been able to do their own thing. Yeah, exactly. Like, the guys over at Ubisoft Massive, I think, got screwed by some of the initial marketing that Ubisoft did, because Ubisoft tried to go after Destiny's crown, and it did not work. It really didn't. You know, and everybody sat there and said, the Division's going to be a Destiny killer, and it's like, you know, like I think some people very predictably saw that, like, no matter how good the Division was going to be from that point, like, it would always be held to a standard that was going to be completely impossible to attain.
Yep.
Like, just even if Destiny just treaded water, the comparison of something was always going to screw it. You know? Like, that's just the way it is. You can't
it's just
see
like
yourself as a killer.
It's just a different game. If you look at Division, that's why. I mean, it's a visual thing. There's no. Doesn't matter how good the loot is or the gunplay mechanics, they're different games. This is a post-apocalyptic game set in a very dark and depressive kind of, that's the gritty feel, whereas Destiny is flying through space and shooting aliens. Like, they're not, like, the only people, in my experience, the only people that could brand the game as killers are people that are looking for the game, people that don't like the game in the first place and are looking for it to die. Like, no, you never hear a Destiny fan talking about another game like it's going to kill Destiny, because anyone that knows would just know that's not possible. And I've seen that with Call of Duty every single year. It's the COD killer, and again, like Call of Duty, Battlefield, they're just different games, and sometimes they try and be similar, and they've obviously had overlap sometimes, but they're just different games. And as you've seen with COD, like I just said, nothing can kill COD but COD. When COD starts making bad games, when they make games that aren't in the time period that people are interested in, like Advanced Warfare and Ghosts and Black Ops 4 and all of the ones that just departure from what it was built from, that's how Call of Duty is going to decline. When it starts being bad itself, it's not going to decline because of Battlefield or because of any other game. It's only going to decline because itself is declining. But now it's it's back in Modern Warfare, back in Black Ops, and it's going right back up. So it's just not really how the game system works.
I mean, it goes back to a quote that Jim Sterling keeps on saying, which I think is very true, which is that market leaders don't follow, they lead.
Yep, exactly.
And it's to say, like, yes, Destiny is not the first loot game that's ever been done, but people who are trying to emulate Destiny's success without understanding their own game and embracing what it could have been, they're doing something fundamentally wrong. By that same token, don't try and reinvent the wheel and stay away from something so you can keep your identity unique. That's what killed Anthem, but, you know, these are the things that ultimately define why certain games are successful. Just like with COD, it's a market leader. It leads.
Lead from the front.
I know that reference.
Isn't Anthem getting a like a big update overhaul? When is that? Soon? Or this year?
I'm not sure when that is. I kind of feel like it might be sometime next year. Like, I don't believe for a second they drop it during November, when this is already the most packed November that I think anyone has ever seen. But yeah, Anthem is getting a complete overhaul, and I really hope that it goes well. Like, I've had my time of resenting the way that game was developed, and I've had my time of sort of not wanting to see it, and I've had my time of being disappointed. I've made peace with the fact that it launched in a mediocre state, but like, when it does release, I really do hope they take good cues from everything else that's been shown thus far.
It's a game I wish was good. Yeah. Like, it looks so amazing. Like, just playing the Storm. Like, all of my play experience was just playing the Storm, and it was so much fun. Even if, the gameplay, even if I was getting glitched every menu and losing my progress and all the problems at launch, like, you're flying around. Like, again, that's something you can't do in Destiny. So it's,
right, like flight and the idea of the javelins and all the different suits, that worked so well. Like, they had part of their core that was fundamentally brilliant, and the shooting and the storytelling and the loot system were what let that game down. Like, yeah, I feel like if the core is too busted, it'll never succeed. And that's kind of what happened to Anthem.
But I mean, like you said, as long as they just focus on the unique things that no other game does, like flying, then again, just focus on those good elements that no other game does, like flying around in a javelin and shooting aliens, and just the kind of aesthetic of that open world exploration. Like, it really was very much an open world game. So if they can just double down on that, but then get all the, I'm not too familiar in the problems with the loot system, but I just know it wasn't too well received. I just remember, a lot of people saying it's got massive potential, but it didn't quite hit the mark. Yeah. But I'm optimistic. No, I'm hoping it.
So I think, I won't go into a huge rant about it, but to put it blankly, a lot of the maths behind the loot system didn't work. So you could have the end result was that people found out that you could take the very starting assault rifle you had and then compare it to their equivalent of an exotic assault rifle, and it would do practically the same damage.
I remember that. Yeah.
And that, that was kind of just like what killed it for a bunch of people. The moment that your fundamental mathematics behind your loot is that broken, like, there's no incentive to play anymore. Like, nobody cares.
But those are deep game code things that probably Bungie spent a lot of time fixing, just tweaking the numbers and damage and multipliers and progression, and making the difference between rare and uncommon and legendary, exotic, and actually making weapons feel that way instead of just, I do remember seeing the starting auto rifle was like the highest DPS weapon in the game, wasn't it?
Yeah. Something along those lines, yeah. And it's just, that's just a fundamental problem with things. But it's not like other games haven't had stuff like that before. Like, speaking of Destiny 1 nostalgia, you remember how back in Vault of Glass, Crota, all these other things, heavy ammo just vanished from your inventory if you died?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember how in Destiny 1 they had to recode the entire way that heavy ammo dropped in the environment so that it would work properly? Like, they had to fundamentally rip out a part of their game and fix it and put it back.
Spaghetti code.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, that's kind of the level that I feel the problems of Anthem start to even vaguely pass by. They're out there as far as their damage goes with regards to, like, starting weapons being as bad as, being on the same par as, like, exotics.
Yeah,
but,
in game.
Yeah. Stuff's crazy, dude.